Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very exclusive episode on Rewired Radio. I'm your host, DJ Drew.
And I'm Coral, your favorite event planner.
And today's guest is the founder of the Cannabis Wedding Expo. She's revolutionizing the way we do modern weddings. She's been featured in Forbes, the Boston Globe, Vice, and much more. She's top shelf, and she's giving a new meaning to joint vows. Let's welcome Vanessa Oliver.
Thank you for having me. I'm Vanessa from the Cannabis Wedding Expo. Thank you guys so much for having me here.
Yes, of course.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, Vanessa.
We are so excited to have you today on our show. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different, but actually super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just at the Cannabis Wedding Expo this past weekend in Los Angeles, and it was probably one of the most interesting experiences of my life. I've never seen anything quite like it before.
Of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to start off the show by playing a quick video of what I experienced at the expo, just to kind of showcase and show our viewers what we saw. If we can roll that clip, Solomon.
Another girl who needs your boy hair close. Do not worry, I can boy it all on. I can be everything I like and want. Oh, I like and want. I work so hard, yeah, so hard. Focus, yeah, focus. I don't need.
That looked so fun.
That's so awesome. I just got so many chills just watching those exhibitors all over again. That's so exciting to see them.
It was so cool, and it was so interesting to see all those people who are supporting cannabis, supporting our industry as well. And we want to talk about that because now I'm seeing more and more weddings becoming cannabis friendly. And you're an instrumental part of that movement, Vanessa. You are the founder of the Cannabis Wedding Expo. Again, just took place in Los Angeles this past weekend. And I'm curious, what is your mission with this Cannabis Wedding Expo?
Absolutely. So first, I am the owner. The founder actually is Philip Wolf. Founder is Philip Wolf and Madeline from Ivory Weddings and Events and Becca. They were initially founded in 2016. And at that time, our goal was to bring it mainstream, to teach people, there's a different side of cannabis that we were not seeing for a really long time. There was this stoner mentality, and we wanted to pull people out of that. Since the pandemic, that has been very easy to do because people have been looking for other more holistic ways to live their life, and cannabis kind of falls into that.
Sure.
Now it's a matter of people being able to personalize their experiences. Weddings look entirely different for every person because you can't define a person, you cannot define a wedding. And so having all these different elements of cannabis available to them, it allows them to really personalize their experience for their guests, and you really use it as a theme of their wedding. And that is probably my favorite part of all of it. And that's what we want to continue to do.
That they can use it as a theme for their wedding.
Yes. And like in a subtle form or a really big form, some people say, I want a weed wedding. And so they have like pot leaves all over the place. And then you have people that want to be a little bit more subtle because they want to be mindful that,
Sure.
some people are just not as comfortable with it yet, but they want to kind of ease them into it. So they'll have it as party favors, or they'll have it as like little infused dining experiences where, you can use butters and oils and, it's really elaborate or really subtle depending on the bride or the groom.
Yeah.
Right.
And what was interesting too, I learned some interesting things at this expo. One of the main things that I learned is how health conscious most of these people in the community are. They have a strong, like-minded community, amazing vendors, super cool. Most of them were very unique in their own way, and they're very passionate about their craft. And speaking for myself, someone who's been in this industry for a while now, in the wedding industry, it was kind of new to me. seeing this expo and these different vendors and, what they showcased. So as you mentioned, how do you plan on bringing this more to the mainstream in the future?
Well, the part that I've really enjoyed is how we make it fluent to people. And to the consumer, it's all about understanding what a consumer is looking for. Again, you can't, we have no real one definition that identifies a person and their personality. Some people like sexual health and intimacy. Some people like beauty products and feeling self-care and love. Some people are foodies and like, infused beverages. It's like, it's such a versatile array of opportunities that is really how we want to continue to educate people, is really tapping into what is fluent for them. And by creating experiences that they can use to really broaden their relationship with the plant.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't imagine it's very hard to broaden their relationship with the plant.
No. Once they try it, once they get connected with it, once they're like, oh my gosh,
You fall in love with it.
Yeah.
you really do.
Yeah.
You really do. It holds a special place in my heart. And I didn't even used to be a consumer until probably like 2015.
That's interesting too, because I met a lot of vendors too who were just like you. They didn't consume it prior to it being legal. But now that it's become more legal, it's something that they've kind of tried to get more acquainted with, I guess you could say. And, being from California, weed has been pretty normal out here for quite some time now. And in some respective industries, it's still looked at as something taboo. How do you plan on changing people's perspective of that?
Yeah, so really our job is just to continue educating, making it available. I mean, it's the same for any industry, for anything that people are not familiar with or is foreign to them. You just keep introducing it to them.
Right.
And the more they see it, the more that they can connect with it, the more that they can engage with it, the more comfortable they get with it. I did a CBD education event for my son's PTA. And they were looking for an event to auction off for their parents' auction dinner. And I proposed this CBD education event. Wasn't sure they were going to say yes, but they did.
Really?
And
That
it
is
ended up being the
awesome.
highest selling auction item at this parents' auction dinner. And the way we presented it was we were going to introduce cannabis to hit all of the sensory components. And so we had topicals for beauty and health and wellness, and we
Right.
had tinctures, and we had beverages, and we even had what do you call it? Suppositories, and every form that people have like been able to associate with products on a traditional aspect, they were able to see it in a cannabis aspect.
Yeah.
And that really made them feel comfortable because they said, I recognize these beauty products, and now you're telling me there's CBD in them and this is what
Yeah.
it does. And that's just, they don't have to engage with it at that time, but just having it available to them and in a safe space is what is going to change, the consumer perspective. And so that is what we're going to continue to do.
Absolutely.
So educating is kind of number one priority, just to get people more aware of what it is
Absolutely.
and that it's safe and it's actually more common than people think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when they say people that look like them, that's another thing.
Yes.
People want to see people that are relatable to experiences that we experience
Yeah.
every day.
Especially the PTA moms.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
like, oh,
Mhm.
well, she's doing it. It's awesome. It's in a safe space. I'm going to try it. You don't have to do it
Absolutely.
right then and there, but you can take that CBD lotion home and you could try it at home.
Oh, and
you
they
know?
are lathering up at
Oh,
home.
yeah. They're like, I need a refill.
Oh, they slide into those DMs after the fact, like, hey, I need more.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's super cool just to me to learn more about it today. So obviously, thank you for educating just us for being in the industry and just kind of knowing a little bit more. But just we're more used to alcohol at weddings, so that's super
Yeah.
common. Why don't you think cannabis bars are common? Kind of just a thought process since it is legal, especially in some states, that why can't we just have a cannabis bar? Because some guests probably want that instead, so they're not getting too drunk or making fools of themselves. They want to be happy. They want to live in the moment.
Yeah.
Some bride and grooms probably want to do that instead, since they're so stressed.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. We're seeing that so much more. couples reaching out to us to say, hey, do you have a cannabis bud tender? Irie Weddings, they're a national bud tending service specifically for weddings.
Okay.
And they do these beautiful, elegant bars. It's totally changing the perspective of like the weed guy, right? In the dark alley. They come out with silver platters and it's really sexy. And, again, it's changing the narrative of what people think of when you think bud bar at a wedding.
Well, they think stoners, and Southern California, we have a lot of people that smoke, but it's more not as classy, I would say. Yeah,
exactly.
But it's changing now.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The
For a
illustration.
wedding affair, I feel like you can make it nice and classy and sexy at
Yeah.
the same time.
Silver platters. How
Right.
fancy, more
Right.
fancy can you get?
Well, one of the things too that I love about bud bars is that you have an alcohol bar or a wet bar, and you go for a drink, you kind of know what you want, so they hand it over to you. That's the end of the exchange there. There's no real like immersive experience, there's no education, there's no activation. Bud bars are also a really great activation for events because you have bud tenders that are educating you on what options you might want at the bar. And they'll ask you like really fun questions like, well, what is your intention right now? Do you want to have fun? Do you want to feel loose? Are you like, what type of do you just want to kind of sit and observe from the corner? And then they'll like make recommendations off of that. And any questions that you have about what you're consuming, your dosage, the terpenes that are inside of it, are you going to have more of a calming effect on, what you're experiencing? They can articulate all of that. And so now it becomes a fun part of the event, not just consumption.
Right, exactly. You're learning, but then also enjoying yourself with it. For people that may know it, or some people that are maybe trying it for the first time.
Yeah,
they can
very
educate
rudimentary.
themselves.
Yeah.
I really like what you just said, how when you're speaking to a bud tender, that they can kind of customize your experience for you.
Yeah.
So if you want to be more chill, maybe you want to have, I don't know, some indica or something. Whereas maybe if you want to be a little more upbeat and fun and dancing, maybe a hybrid or sativa, for example. But they customize it to your experience that you want.
Yes.
That's awesome. And do you think as time goes on, this will be more of a trend for future events, especially at weddings where you can order a cocktail and maybe a pre-roll with a barista and just spark up and have some fun?
I definitely think people are getting creative. What you can legally do versus what you can do on like private property. People are definitely testing their limits on that. But in terms of conscious consumption, we are seeing it a lot more. We are seeing people ask for the bud bar instead of the alcohol bar, wet bar. I mean, I could be biased because I'm in the industry where people just naturally come to us and ask like, hey, do you have a vendor for this? So we're seeing it so much now. But I would say the past 3 weddings I went to had a bud bar and not an alcohol bar. And I was pretty excited about that.
And what do you think the average cost of like a cannabis bar would be at a wedding?
So it really ranges, again, being just customizable. It can be anywhere from like $1,000 to a couple of thousand, depending on what features you want. It depends on what you're stocking inside your bar. If your bud tenders actually have, preferred vendors to help you stock your bar, where you're located. Again, if you're at a venue that needs specific insurance, it all ties together.
Yeah.
So it can very much range, but on the basic market scale, it would be anywhere from $1,000 to a few thousand.
It's not terrible
too bad at
because
all.
think of what you spend on like a regular alcohol bar.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And you can customize it and make it your own
Exactly.
personal experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For that price where you can customize it to you and your guests. I mean, it seems very reasonable.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you think about like the dosing. Some people, they can get lushed or not lush off of one beer, right? Where you have these little droplets of 2.5 milligrams, one little itty bitty drop that can just have you set for the rest of the night. So, I mean,
That's true. Yeah.
dosing is another big thing to consider when you're doing your bud bar.
Yeah. Instead of someone that's like, oh, I'm going to have 12 beers today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, okay, buddy.
And what if instead of exchanging vows, couples exchange joint vows, if you catch my drift?
They're doing that
They're
already.
already doing that?
They're already doing it.
They are already doing it. We have photos actually of them toking up right as they're exchanging vows,
That's
and
so
that's
cool.
it.
That's so cool. So
Yeah.
as they're exchanging vows, they're literally trading a joint or passing it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Wait, I love that idea. You obviously didn't think of it first because it's already happening.
No, but
I'll have to look up some pictures of
that's
that.
definitely a trend that should catch on.
I know,
Mhm.
definitely.
I love it.
Give it time. It'll be there for sure. More and more of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Over time, yeah. Well, obviously, we just had the expo here in LA
Mhm.
the beginning of April, and that's awesome. What are your next stops? What are some cities that you have planned?
So we will be in San Francisco May 1st.
Okay.
And then
Oh, wow.
after that, we are going to be opening up for the first time. I'm so excited about this. Opening up for the first time in New York on June 19th. We're going to be on Broadway. So we're going to be
Beautiful.
like
Awesome.
on the big street. I'm so excited
What
about
venue
that.
is it going to be?
It's going to be at Home Studios.
Home Studios, Broadway, New York City.
For our
June 19th.
viewers out
June
there.
19th,
Yeah.
June 19th, which is very momentous for us
Yes.
on that regards too. And then after that, our fall shows are going to be in Las Vegas, Arizona, Denver, and Boston.
Awesome.
Wow.
You're traveling all over the country pretty much this year.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Spreading the
good
word,
time.
educating clients and future vendors, hopefully, as well.
Yeah, well, I feel like the vendors are the ones that are teaching us, and that's the best part. It's sort of like I get to go into their hometown, and they're like really reliving like what the laws are, hearing their stories, how they came up in the industry.
Yeah.
That is the most exciting part of the travel.
That's cool. And I'm sure you're meeting all kinds of different vendors too.
Mhm. All different kinds. I mean, we are getting, again, bud bars, as we've talked about a lot. We are getting infused dining chefs, culinary artists. We actually had one
Wow.
come with me here today. Dispensaries. We get floral designers that put little nugs or cannabis leaves inside the bouquets. We have the hemp
Cute.
dresses. As you saw, Dope Duchess Design was the designer for all the models that were at the showcase for the Cannabis Wedding Expo. You have jewelry, which is huge, cannabis travel, going to different cannabis-friendly resorts and locations.
There are so many
Just
vendors.
Everything. It is
Wow, I
everything.
love
Yeah.
that.
Home decor. I'm
Oh
sure
my
you guys are
gosh.
aware. There was Bud and Rose Shop that had these beautiful bongs that you didn't realize were bongs until you got up close. They just look like these beautiful
Yes.
centerpieces.
Yes.
Spaces,
Yeah, I
and then you're like,
noticed
what is that?
Yeah,
They're so
yeah, it's
elegant.
amazing. It's beautiful, is what it is, and it's changing the narrative of what people expect cannabis to look like nowadays.
Totally.
Absolutely. And for any vendors, guests that want to reach you and attend your expo or be a part of your expo, how can they reach you, Vanessa?
So you can find us at cannabisweddingexpo.com. You can also email us directly at hello@cannabisweddingexpo.com.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
And on that note, I think we should raise, I would say a glass, but in this case, we're going to raise a bottle of Jameson.
Whew, it's her favorite, so we always
It's
gotta
Vanessa's
do
favorite.
our guest favorite.
Outside of cannabis. It's my favorite outside of cannabis.
Of course.
We're going to raise one to all your success. And as you know, Vanessa, the guest always makes the honorary toast on Rewired Radio. So if you would do the honors.
Absolutely. I wishing for nothing but abundance on this journey of happiness and health that we are all striving for.
Yes.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, guys.
All right.
Until next time.
On that note, guys, till next time.
Oh, wow. Take it to the head.
That is strong.